So in this video, I'd like to kind of have a discussion about my race, the African race, the black race, whatever you want to call it. I want to talk about what my current thoughts are about the direction in which our people are going and where I see our people heading in the near future. Because as of right now, I am just not impressed with the way my people seem to carry themselves online specifically. Maybe offline when they're around other people they may carry themselves a little bit differently, but I like to see the online world as an opportunity to dive into the psyche of people and see what they're really thinking about, and right now I am not impressed. And I'm talking about this now because times are changing. Things are not as sweet as they were 10-20 years ago. If we don't sharpen up, buckle down, and really think about how we can strengthen our position in the global space, I feel like we may genuinely be going into a very dangerous environment. So I have a bunch of topics that I've written down that I want to kind of talk to you guys about. The video might be a bit long, but bear with me. I might put a timestamp somewhere across the video for each topic. The first topic that I want to talk about is the gender wars that's happening within our race. Without a shadow of a doubt, it is probably the most disgraceful, embarrassing, disgusting behavior that I've ever witnessed within our race. Now, gender wars is not something new, right? If you look at Korea, for example, South Korea, there's a gender war going there. If you look at with white people, there's a gender war going there as well, with the whole, who would you choose, the man or the bear, whatever. But the gender war that's happening within the African race specifically seems to be loaded with so much visceral hate and just animosity between the genders. The way that black men speak about black women comes from a level of hatred I've never seen before. The way black women talk about black men comes with a level of hatred that I've never seen before. And both sides have no shame in engaging in this pointless, idiotic beef online, completely and utterly embarrassing themselves as they go about it. You know, black men will say horrible stuff about black women, doing this, doing that, carrying themselves in a certain way, and then they'll try to say other women are better than the black women. Then obviously black women will do the exact same thing, talk shit about the black men, and then praise other races to try and demean the black men, whatever. You've seen it. I'm not gonna go too much details as to what I'm talking about. If you're part of our race and you've been online for like more than 20 minutes, you would have encountered the discussion, right? I don't know what can be done to fix this, because from before all of this, the way that I've always perceived this little pointless beef between the genders is that these are just low-class black people. That's just the way I've seen them. They're not worth our time. They're not even worth considering giving a platform to. If we can just ignore them and obviously focus on the African men or the black men who are showing love and respect to the opposite gender and vice versa, we can probably get through this. Like Malcolm X said, the most disrespected woman is the black woman, as an example, right? And what's horrific about this is that a lot of the attacks seems to be done by our own men. Do you know what I'm saying? You have black men openly creating accounts, or they will see, let's say, a white person or an Asian person slander black women, and instead of you coming in and defending your woman, you're joining in on the banter. And what I found the most interesting thing is that you will never be respected if you cannot respect your other half. It's a simple common sense. Like, men and women, we're not that different. Okay, yeah, genetically and biologically we are different, but you know what I mean. From a philosophical sense, they're practically the other half of the coin. If they cannot respect your other half, they're not going to respect you. That's just the way I see it. Look, I understand we want to criticize certain behavior, and this is why I find funny. Neither side is any better. If we're being practically honest, there are things that black women do I absolutely hate, without a shadow of a doubt. I hate it, I despise it, I don't like it, and that's just it. And the way I feel that we can solve that is to not reward them for doing that. And there are certain things that black men do I absolutely hate, I despise, I find it disgusting, and I want nothing to do with it. Neither side is any better. This is the funny part about this. Neither side is better. Each side has its flaws, its corruption, so to speak, and trying to use one of the others. How to put this? It's like black men are trying to use black women to make themselves look better, and black women are trying to use black men to make themselves look better. But in the end, from a global perspective, from an outside looking in, we both basically are just looking disgraceful doing this. And it's not helping. It's not helping whatsoever. It just makes the whole gender war thing just horrible. And then this leads me to this whole diaspora war thing, which is something that's been going on for quite some time now. It's hard to kind of explain what started this diaspora war, but if I were to take an educated guess, it's basically it's a war that has been participated by individuals with low self-esteem, self-hating nature, and essentially they want to feel good by attacking something that they perceive to be beneath them. So a lot of the times you'll probably see black Americans versus other African ethnic groups, or sometimes you might see within the ethnicities. For example, you might see Somalis say something bad about, I don't know, Yorubas, or sometimes even you can even have battles of ethnicities within black British people and black Americans. Like the point or the concept of a diaspora war is probably some of the most idiotic shit that I've ever seen before. It's utterly useless, it benefits no one, and all it serves is just to try and make yourself look good. So for an example, sometimes I would see black Americans, right? They'll attack Africans and they'll say, well, the Africans don't like us, they hate us, they this and that, and then they'll try to present themselves to be better than the Africans. Or they'll say, look at Africans, they're living like savages, or they're doing this and this and that. We black Americans are clearly superior in that sense. Then you'll see Africans, right? They'll probably do something similar. They'll be like, look at these black Americans, hoodlings, gangsters, killing themselves. We Africans are clearly superior to them because we don't do any of that shit. Meanwhile, what is happening is you have the lowest common denominator of each of these groups bickering and fighting, while the rest of us don't even care. But the problem with these lowest common denominator scums within our communities is that they're the loudest. They are the loudest, and they're so loud it ends up it's like it has a strong gravitational pull. It ends up drawing everybody into it, and before you realize it, now you don't even know who started the war. Black Americans will say that Africans have been calling them agatas or something like that, and therefore they are justified in attacking Africans, whereas Africans will say, well, black Americans have been calling us African booty scratchers, and then that justifies the diaspora war is a result of lack of education. It really is. There's a lack of education, and I'm going to be honest with you, it requires a low fucking level of IQ for you to even begin to participate in something like this. It benefits no one, it serves no purpose, and it can easily be solved by just trying to learn from one another. I'm being honest here. A lot of the shit that Africans say about black Americans, if you actually listen to them, it's very easy for you to figure out that these Africans know next to nothing about black American history. Everything that they're saying comes from what they've heard from our enemies, which is, racist people, right? Racist whites, Arabs, Hispanics, whatever the case may be, right? And then the same thing with black Americans. Everything that they've heard about the same thing with black Americans. Everything that they've heard about Africans comes from our enemies, from the things that our enemies have said, from the content that has been posted out. It's all the same. Diaspora wars has been something that I've tried my best to ignore, obviously, and I'm pretty sure many of us have ignored it as well, because we know that not everybody feels that way, but it's getting to the point now, just like the gender wars, it has a strong gravitational pull, and it's ending up dragging all of us to this stupid fucking war that serves no purpose, and it distracts us from the more important discussions that we should be having. And as a result, you can see things like the FBA, which is a group that has been formed in Black America, which first it started out as a means to strongly refine the identity of the ethnic black Americans who are descendants of slaves, which I actually agree. I think they should really do define their ethnicity, but it ended up evolving into a hate group which spends their time just slandering anything that is remotely non-black American, which is just another evolution of the diaspora wars and just being idiotic and stupid. The worst part about this is that our enemies will see this diaspora war and will realize, wow, these people are so divided. It makes it actually easy to figure out who to use to reach our goal. Sometimes you'll have, I guess, an African person come in, they'll pick out an African person and they'll say these things about black Americans, and we know that you guys are the good ones, and then they'll end up doing it, and you'll have this pointless war. That's how I feel about diaspora. I think it's a stupid concept. It should have died out with more education. We are on a timeline where we have access to so much information. We can learn from one another, understand why certain communities, certain ethnic groups are in the condition that they're in now, and understand what they are going through and why it is that they end up the way that it is. But instead, no, we choose to be completely ignorant of one another. I don't understand this. It's like we are willfully are choosing to be ignorant so that we can feel good about ourselves. Which leads me to the next topic that I want to talk about, and that is self-hate. But I think self-hate is a self-explanatory thing. This is one of the most talked about topic within the African race, and that is, how to deal with the self-hate that plagues our community, that plagues the psyche. How do we free our people's minds from looking at themselves and feeling like, I don't like who I am, essentially. But that's a self-explanatory stuff. I don't even have to go too deep into it myself. I think the last thing is a lack of education, period. As in, I don't see my people having a strong desire to learn African history. This is something that I've very much noticed. They don't care. They'll say that they care, but they don't care. What I mean by this is that they like to hear things like, oh, Africans were kings, or Africans were queens, but they don't want to dive deeper, understand the fundamental mechanics that created civilizations, each fragments that came together to build the society, and the other little stuff. They don't care about that stuff. To them, they really don't. They don't have an interest in African history, and this is evident as well when they try to create their own content and their own media. You see that they're pulling inspirations from outside cultures, and you don't see enough of their own culture being the influence that creates the content. This has to change, because soft power in this world is very important. I mean, look at black Americans with their culture, one of the most influential cultures in the world, the most influential, but they don't have much control of that culture itself, in my opinion. I mean, people want to be black Americans, but they don't even want to respect the people that created the culture in the first place. It's a lack of soft power. They don't have strong command over it. That's what I mean when I say lack of education, lack of culture. They create stuff, but you don't see a lot of their culture influence in it. But yeah, that's just my thoughts and opinion on it, because the reason why I'm talking about this is that things are changing. It's changing, and it's not going to get any better. We need to sharpen up, be more wiser, understand that we have no allies. We only have each other. And fighting amongst ourselves is the most idiotic thing we can possibly do. All the other races would love to see us destroyed. This is just the honest to God truth. They would love to see us being destroyed, and we can't allow that to happen. Okay, that's all I want to say. We gotta sharpen up. Even if we need to kick out some people from our race, we have to do that at this point. We can't be nice, we can't be welcoming, we can't let everybody into our community anymore. We need to be more sharp, more vicious, more stronger if we have to survive. Yeah, that's just my thoughts and opinion on it. Let me know what you guys think. I'll catch you guys next time.